Hello, everybody from the Marketology world. This is your host, Mr. Marketology, and today I have Jenni on the call with me, or really on the live with me, or the video with me, however you're watching this. I have her on, and we're going to talk about some things that you probably haven't really heard too much in marketing because we're also, business and focused, but we're going to talk about having fun. Having fun with your marketing, having fun in your business. And that's something I think as a business owner and a marketer, we don't do much of. We're so taught to grind, grind, grind. So Jenni, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I'm excited that you let me sort of add in my 2 cents about what we get to talk about today, because I feel like it should be more fun and we should be able to integrate fun with what we do on a daily basis. So
yeah, and that's hard. I mean, when we're sitting down, all right, so we got the computer in our hand, we've got the phone in our hand, we've got family members saying, when are you going to put that down and at least grab something to eat or at least spend some time with your kids or something? It becomes just work, 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 work. And I think my nephew told me best. He said, what do you do for fun? Because every time I see you, you're always just working. And every time he asked me what you're doing, I would say, same old, just working. How do you get out of that?
Yeah. So, the pandemic has been interesting because we've all moved the nexus of work into our home space. And so everybody's pretty much got a similar tale. It allowed work to blend with personal life so much that you could lose sight of where to draw the line. And one thing that I really consciously do with people that are parts of my team or even my clients is I try to isolate time within each meeting, especially in the beginning, to just catch up and like a normal conversation you would have with somebody, like you're meeting at a coffee shop, or a lot of things are still Zoom based or digitally based. And so we have to carve out that time and make sure that we're really connecting. And for me, I'm sort of an extrovert, and so being behind a screen was kind of hard for me. But my best way that I break the ice with anybody is I say something funny, or I find something to laugh at, or I laugh pretty easily anyway, especially at my own jokes. But I have to laugh in order to feel like, okay, we're connected, And plus, it just sort of sets the tone for the meeting. And I'm not saying you have to be a comedian or try to get a laugh. I just think that when you genuinely spend the time to get to know your team and your clients, especially, that it makes work so much more interesting and rewarding, and it creates such a deeper bond with one another. And it doesn't mean you're going to be doing business forever, because things happen. People have had, a lot of the businesses I worked with have gone through a serious up and down, where all of a sudden, where's one of the first places they pull back money? It's from marketing, because well, I have to keep the lights on, or I have to pay my, so it's been an interesting ride, and I just stay focused on maintaining my positivity, and just focusing on continuing to grow and build in all ways, and so that I can provide for my team and also myself, obviously, and my family, but to have fun while doing it and laugh and enjoy. And I had a client call me 2 weeks ago to let me know that he had to actually cancel our services, and he was really bummed out about it because we had been doing so well for him, but he was going through a new management company that had their own in-house team. Mm-hmm. And so that's some bummer news, especially when you think the last 2 conversations you had with them were like, okay, now let's do this, now let's do that, because I build everything in as a graduated scale. You don't do everything all at once with most clients. It's you build into them with your marketing stack. So I was expecting one thing and he ended up with another. And I just, immediately said something back where I was like, well, you never know. Maybe he's an orthodontist. I said, maybe someday I'll be in New Jersey and I'll need my braces again, or something like that. So, he was like, we just laughed about it. And I said, well, if it ever comes around where you need anything again, you just let us know and we'll be here for you. And I used to be so focused on feeling like I had to be professional because I was often like, I felt like I was the youngest person in the room. So I felt like I had to overcome like certain barriers. I was the only woman. I was the youngest person. I didn't have a college education. I had predetermined things in my mind that made me, okay, I have to be super stiff and I can't have fun. And then I just chalked all that out the window. I was like, no, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to, I'm going to build these relationships. So that's how I feel good about operating.
Well, I mean, and that's a very valuable point, that business is about relationships, and you're building relationships. And, we're taught so many techniques and methods and hacks and so forth that nobody really talks about, or very few people ever talk about relationship building. And businesses really are built on the back of relationships.
Yeah.
Even though it's digitally, it's still a who you know game. It's still a how you know them game. And then it's proving what you know after you basically build that relationship. So, we're not going to turn a person that can't stand us into a raving client just because we know so much. And so that's very important. I mean, and that's not talked about too often. How do we get into these relationships, especially like you said, it's a digital space. It's not like you're out at the coffee spot and somebody's there on their computer, you're on your computer, and they're like, oh, what do you do? Well, I do this. And they're, oh, that's great. Would you like a latte? Yeah, let's do it. Those days are more like, you want to jump on a Zoom call? Sure. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. What you want to talk about? So, I mean, it's a little different, but you're still building that. And, I love the way you kind of put in jokes. You make it light, not so, what's these numbers? Let me know what this is going to cost. What is this going to return?
Yeah.
We're a machine.
I feel like when it gets, because we all have like these, we all have our comfort level. So, and we all have our areas of expertise where we know we can talk and we know we can dominate. But a lot of us also have imposter syndrome things that go on, or we feel uncomfortable or out of our element, or why would they listen to me? Or, okay, we all have like these different narratives that are going on in our brains, right? But one way that I've functioned through a lot of those, because a lot of what I do is not just me, it's members of my team. Like I just got off a Zoom right before this where I'm on with I call them like my ninja wizard people. They're the guys behind that are doing all the data analytics and all of the a lot of my lead gen stuff comes from them, and they're fantastic, but it does take a team to do it. And so I sort of realize, like, if I'm getting to that part of a conversation with the client and I'm like, oh man, I don't do this 24/7. They do, but that's okay, because I've already built the rapport and the comfort level where I can speak to the lessons that we've learned, the aggregate, information that we have, and the case studies that we put together at this point, which we've been in business like 5-6 years now. So there's enough for me to go off of where I don't have to get into the weeds about something like that. And because I've already built the rapport, and I can say, like, I'll say something funny about that. Maybe I'll be like, well, did you want me to handle the relationship with you, or did you want me to also be doing, 8 hours worth of data analytics on that? Because I'm like one person, So, I haven't figured out how to become a robot quite yet, but I have to utilize my team, and I have to utilize what I know, is what helps build trust with people. And of course, and always like delivering results and being transparent and delivering results, whether they're good or they're bad, because it doesn't always work out. We in marketing, I mean, come on, marketing is, it's a bill of goods half the time. People are like, oh, like, sure, you're going to do this for me. And so many other people have said, over promise, under deliver, yada, yada, yada. We gotta come in and pick up the pieces.
It is about setting expectations, and marketing is about testing. And that's a hard thing, even for marketers, to understand. I mean, we don't never want to fail, but you're not really failing unless you quit. You're just learning. This didn't work out for me. And I remember the beginning of this year, I had a bunch of learnings. It seemed like everything was just like, hosting was messed up, emails were messed up, Facebook was acting silly, everything, but you learn how to maneuver past that. And that helps you when somebody calls and says, hey, I have this problem. And you're like, oh, well, I've had that problem too.
Sure.
This is how I know how to address it. and
Right.
the fact that you have teams that have
Yeah.
experts in fields. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of businesses think that the person that's the account manager,
Hmm.
they're the face of it, they're the rapport of it,
Hmm.
they're the ones actually doing it. And in some
Hmm.
companies, that's the case, but in a lot of times, it's the technician. And the
Correct.
technician is great at what they do.
Correct.
But like you say, if they don't have, they don't have enough time to do the job and to, you know, build a relationship and hold the rapport and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
But, you know, that expectation is set, I
Yeah.
would say, by the face of the company.
Yeah.
And
For
it's
sure.
so interesting when we start talking about certain expectations from certain firms. You would not go to, let's say, the CEO of Google or Facebook or Amazon
Hmm.
and say, hey, you know, I'm talking to you. And so when can I expect this? And they're like, we got 1,000-man staff. I mean, you think I'm really going to ship your package? You know, it's like, I'm not shipping your package. I'm Jeff Bezos. I'm just a Bezos company. You know, it's like, but they expect that from other firms. They're like, well, you're not going to do this. You're not going to drop what you're doing and do. You're like, really?
Yeah.
I have a team, you know.
Hmm.
So,
You know, and that's what, you know, we're delegation and creating systems and a lot of those, we're sort of at that scaling point right now. We really just got started again in pretty much February of this year. We rebranded, relaunched, and so it's been growing quickly. And so now we're going through that scaling phase where we're
okay.
incorporating a lot of systems. And so I'm in that sort of like in between phase where I'm still the main point of contact, but I'm delegating and making sure that those lines of communication. But then like I'll get a client that will email me, will Slack me, will text me, will duplicate, and I'm like, okay, hold on. So we've got so many different things going on here of communication. It's supposed to be going from A to B, but you're putting A, B, C in it. And so sort of training your clients on the proper communication styles is important. We've got so much technology happening right now. We've got such a wide range of ages engaging on various platforms. I'm not talking just social, I'm talking like straight up just communication. And when we're trying to all work remote and consolidate reports, articles, documents, images, whatever it is for all of these clients, and to organize all of that remotely requires a lot of client training as well. And I've been really sort of struggling with that with some of my clients because it's creating a lot of inefficiencies for me and my team to where my calculations of, oh, how much time will this project take? I actually have to recalculate those projections based on the savviness of the client.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important. Set those expectations. Yeah. Because that's where a lot of what we call scope creep comes into play, you know,
Totally.
and they have expectations. We have expectations. I actually have a company, Hexalinks. That's what they specialize in. Taking that and making it more productive and efficient by scaling out all of the extra communication points and putting it into one and actually having a process that is like, okay, we're putting it into, let's say, you know, they specialize in Microsoft, so Teams, and we have it in SharePoint for the files, and this is what we're expecting versus everybody's just going all over the place and expecting you to keep up. And you know, it's like what they call herding cats. It's like herding cats.
Totally.
So dealing with clients, how do you deal with the different types of clients? You have those boss clients, those alpha clients that all of a sudden you now are an employee. You're not a consultant. You're not a, you know, you're not a partner. You're not any of that. You're now shifted into an employee. So how do you deal with, I guess, those type of clients and the client expectations? And we can get into the narrow side of the pond, or we can get into the deep side where, you know, we get into the firing clients type of things. Because I think all businesses that are service-based have dealt with each side of that pond.
Yeah, I've had to. Gosh, I've been through so many scenarios. Um, I'm drawn to, high growth businesses. That's what gets me excited because I like either franchise models or,
Mhm.
fast growing businesses, because then I know if I can do this for them here and we can grow with them, they're gonna, we've got some staying power there. Um, I'm moving a little bit in some different directions because I've realized that, um, and early on I realized this too, and then I guess sort of because of the break and then the coming back at it, it's just sort of a refresh. But I will never put all my eggs in one basket, and I won't allow any more clients to dominate my time.
Mhm.
I used to have very strict rules about when my cutoff communication time was with clients. I got a little lax about that during the pandemic, but I'm going to bring it back in now because I think it's very important. So, they can email me at whatever hour, I don't mind, but texting, communication, and calls needs to
Mhm.
quit at a certain hour so that I can have my life. And that's normal. And if they don't agree with that, then, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right, because my well-being in my life is worth more to me than what they think of me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that work-life balance is something that a lot of us struggle, and during the pandemic, more people started to see that. Now, people that worked with their own business and they worked in their own office or home, that
Yeah,
was kind of a normal for those type of businesses. But
right.
now that everybody is at home all the time or was at home all the time, and so forth, that work-life balance is rough. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been on the beach on vacation, family vacation, and I'm sitting there waking up at 6 and I'm on the laptop and sneaking in time on the phone while we're supposed to be, like we talked about earlier before we got jumped on the call, Disney. We're supposed to be at Disney. I'm standing in line on the phone replying to emails while we're waiting on the next ride. That's not healthy.
There's a weird satisfaction we get out of I feel, I don't know if this is what you feel or if this is what other people feel, but there's like a weird level of satisfaction we get where we're like, hey, look, I can do this from anywhere. I can still participate and relax and have fun and be on vacation. But the thing is, you're not really all there. You're
Yeah.
still worried about other stuff. So, um, I don't know how that's going to be for me this year. I don't know if I'm going to be able to completely untether. Um, we'll see. Got some summer plans. I'll let you know. I don't know. I got some vacations coming up. We'll see how I do. If I can really actually take off. I mean, and the thing is too, I'm working in on some of my trips, client trips too, because I do have clients all over the country now. So,
Okay.
so there's some fun aspects to that too. But um, talking about the alpha client and becoming their employee, um, uh, I've had some of those clients. I have some of those clients, and I don't know if they're going to watch this. They'll know who they are. If you're alpha, you're alpha. Like, I don't
Well,
know how to tell
alpha
you.
knows yeah, alpha knows that they're alpha.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
pride themselves on being an alpha, actually.
yes. So, I do okay with alpha. I mean, I'm pretty alpha myself. I just have a different way of going about things. I don't force. I recommend. I have a different methodology. But I do very well with them, to be honest. As long as, because for me, I got over the fact when I was earlier in my career that I didn't feel like I could speak up and like state my boundaries.
Mhm.
But for me now, I'm like, I know that if they're not going to work with me, that's okay. Somebody else is. I'm fine. I'm not starving. Everybody's okay. So I can very well speak my piece and say, this is what I'm willing to contribute to. I speak very concisely to the scope, to what we're going to track, to what my commitment will be to it time wise.
Yeah.
And I invoice, and I don't do anything until those invoices are paid. So I know that my deliverables are coming,
Yeah.
are forthcoming to them. So all of those things are things that I've learned. And if there's any pushback, or if there's too much pushback, or if they're trying to break me, not bend, and there's no compromise, then um, that's not going to be a long-term success. And then we'll probably just phase out. Um, So that's just sort of how I've dealt with it. And for some people that don't have a strong backbone, that is like the worst client for them to have. Because if you can't stand up for yourself and speak up and create your boundaries and say, like, for me, I don't know. I just, again, I have my own personality, the way that I deal with things, but I will laugh straight at them. If I'm like, do you understand what you just, like, that's ridiculous. Like, you realize the expectations you just set forward. And I was like, if you can find somebody that can do that, please give me their information because I will hire them too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, I live in Southern California. It's one of the most expensive places to live. My prices are super competitive. My teams are awesome. My people are fantastic. I know them each very, very well. I care about like, this is for real. This is real people. This is real life. So if somebody wants to come in and be bombastic and like out of control, then I will tell them that's insane and this is not going to work. If on the other hand, I see potential and I'm like, wow, okay, this could actually be something really good. We just have to figure out how to steer the course together. Then I'll put that together for them. So it really is a lot of instinct, a lot of self-reflection after I speak with them. How does this make me feel? Because sometimes we get so busy, we're just like, oh, you know what? We have to hit these targets. We have to hit these goals. I need to 2x by these 2 months. And like, like I'm still trying to, I'm chasing that rabbit.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, or at some point within that week, I will have to stop and do some self-reflection and go, I didn't feel good after that conversation. I don't like the way that made me feel.
Yeah.
And I'll go back and I would rather kill a deal than torture myself any day.
Yeah, and that brings up another great point. 2 points, actually, I want to ask you about. First was you and your methodology of how you take back time to reflect and redirect versus just, I'm going to grind it out and see where this goes. And then the second, you touched on a very big part that we a lot of times ignore, and that's instinct.
Yeah.
You know, we ignore that little voice saying this might not be the best for you, but we're like, no, the check is there, it's in the mail, or it's supposed to be in the mail, and we're going to just keep on seeing this through. So how did you get that transformation? And that's a mindset question, I know, but how did you?
Instinct, I learned in the hardest way possible. I got so burned, like in the worst, like life-altering, horrific, I mean, torn down to the ground. I got burned so bad because I had this vision and I had this goal and everything seemed to be looking like it was lining up, and I worked with the wrong people. I trusted the wrong people. I got so screwed, like in the worst way possible. You understand? I'm not just talking financially, I'm talking all of it. Like, I got worked bad. And after that, I'm still rebuilding from that. That's why I had to like completely just rebuild and reevaluate and go, what the heck just happened? Like, and it takes years to recover from something like that. And I've talked to a lot of people, and when I share my story about what happened to me, so many successful entrepreneurs that I know, and I'm not just talking in the marketing space, but just in general, successful people that I know, they've said, if you haven't lost it all at least once, then you haven't really tried. Or they say things like, you know, it's a little bit like it's a rite of passage kind of thing, but you know, I'd really rather have not gone through that rite of passage. Like, please, God, you told me any other way. Like but you know, it's what happens. And so when you get your world destroyed and you lose everything, you have to go back to the building blocks of relationship and what people make you feel like, because they say always, right? People won't remember what you say or what you did. They'll remember how you made them feel. And I always try to make people feel good and appreciated, respected and valued, listened to and encouraged. And I want to give hope to people. That's part of me. I'm part of being a people pleaser. And that's part of why I have to be very careful about who I work with and what I do with them and how much I bend over backwards to help people. Okay. So going back to, if I'm talking to somebody and they're talking all over me, or it's all their agenda and they're not listening, or they are going too fast, or they're skipping over things that are important that need to be looked at before we can move on. Like, it has to be done. Usually, especially marketing, things need to be done in a very pragmatic way. I also believe when you're building relationships, I do a lot of strategic partnerships and consulting with companies. It's the same thing with that. You don't just go from hi, hello to you're married. You know,
Yeah.
there are certain, biological, chemical, societal steps, call it whatever you want to call it, that you have to go through in a certain pathway before things can come to fruition. So I learned the hard way. I forced myself now to stop and reflect, because when I didn't, that's when I got burned, like so bad. So, so I forced myself to do that. Or if I start to hear that little voice that was like, ew, that made me feel disrespected, or that made me feel like I'm questioning, or that made me feel like they're, let's face it, people front. I live in LA. People front all over the world. So it's not just here, but like I have learned from, one of like the most aggressive markets in the country. People say like, oh, New York. I'm like, please come to LA, come to LA, come check it out, and come see if you like, do you know how many smooth talking, straight up con artists, straight up everyone's fronting like they got this or they got that. And it's like, okay, seriously. So you're going to be upset about a $3,000 invoice where I'm delivering all this stuff and you already agreed to it. And now you want to renegotiate it. Like that to me is an automatic disqualifier. You're out. I've just learned too much and I've gone through too much. And so my instincts, like maybe I'm wrong sometimes, right? Maybe, but I'd rather trust myself than trust somebody else.
Yeah. And that's so important, because a lot of times we are bombarded with a bunch of, I would say, hype, and everybody's winning,
Sure.
and you're like, well, I'm not winning. Why am I not winning? I need to do what they're doing, but we're not really looking behind the curtain and saying, are they really winning? Do they really have what they say they have, and the agenda to what they say? We have companies like, for instance, like what you were saying, they'll come in and they'll say, well, we make X amount of millions of dollars a year and we're doing this and that. We want to bring you on. And you're like, okay, so you entertain it, you start talking, and then all of a sudden, like you say, when you send the first invoice, oh, well, that invoice technically, now this is being very, can I say petty? Should I say petty?
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, so if you're making this amount, this is only a small percentage of what you're making. And if you have X amount of employees, and I'm looking at the average income of your employees and your monthly salary of that employee at an entry level, I don't even charge what they're getting.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me I'm not even getting what your entry level analyst is getting?
Right.
But you're complaining about that, but your analyst isn't going to really do anything to help you gain more money, especially when you start putting it in perspective. What is the value you're bringing to the company?
Right.
You want me to 10x your business.
Yeah.
So you want me to take you from 10 million to 100 million, but yet you want to gawk at a $3,000 invoice.
Yeah. And so we've learned through the sales process, like where will that person convert at some point? Probably.
Yeah.
But and I know that pipeline to them actually signing somebody on, it's either going to be through nepotism, through they've gotten to a point of desperation because they've burned, I don't know, 10, 20 different consultants that have walked through, or they've just found the absolute rock bottom price that I don't understand this, where people feel like a sense of like, aha, I got you. Like, why are you getting off on that? Like, what happened in your childhood trauma that makes you feel like that's a respectable way to be?
Well, we've always been talked about the dog eat dog, and I have to be on top, I have to win, instead of we can win together.
Yeah.
And
that's what I believe.
Yeah, what I found is if we're fighting over the estimate, then we're going to fight over implementation, because you're not going to want to do it. You're going to want to make it your idea, and we're going to fight over results.
Yeah.
We're fighting over everything. Yeah. So knowing that coming in, the problem is, instead of listening to our own little voice and saying, this might not be a good fit, we think the client's always right, the customer's always right, and we're always taught that. And we're always taught that, well, it's all good money, but that's not true.
No, that part. That's like the biggest misnomer. people, when they start to reframe, when marketers start to reframe their value and their worth, it's going to be very liberating, because not all money is good money.
Yeah.
I can tell you from personal experience, 1,000% that's true. You need to be careful who you work with.
Yeah.
And you need to protect your person, more than anything. And another thing I wanted to add was, a lot of times people are saying now, oh, like, you should be spending $0 in marketing, like in ads. You should be spending $0.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. If I'm just me, I'm not doing, okay, I'm a business owner. I'm spending not $1 in ads.
Yeah.
What am I doing? I'm doing social media. I'm doing articles, blogging,
SEO.
PR,
Yeah.
SEO. I'm doing all this other stuff. Even if I'm doing it myself, which I'm not, it's impossible. I mean, now you're an owner operator and you're your own marketing. So that's not even a client for me anyway. But have people forgotten the concept of opportunity cost?
Yeah.
Like, have people forgotten the fact that even if you're not investing in ad spend, what you're investing your time, or whoever's time it is that you're utilizing, has a value attached to it.
Yeah.
So
Jenni, can I stop you? Can I
Sure.
stop you? We're investing $0 in ad spend.
yeah,
I'm going to show you how to invest $0 in ad spend, and you found me through an ad. See how silly that is?
yeah,
It's like businesses don't see behind, they don't reverse engineer where it's coming from.
right.
I'm going to show you an ad to where I'm going to show you how to make all your money without spending money in ads, but you found me through an ad. It would make no sense to work with you, because you're like, but you're using ads.
Right.
Or I'm looking at my competitors and they're all using ads. You're not reverse engineering your competitors,
Right.
your industry. You're just getting the marketing headline caught your attention and you're falling for that.
Mhm.
And that is, I think, the hardest ones to work with, is demystifying all of the hype that they're fed over the time. And when they start to work with marketers that are just trying to be transparent and honest with them, then they want to be pretty much combative. No, I've heard that you can do this with no ads.
Yeah.
Or I'm a business to business and I have to be on Facebook. Well, why are you not on LinkedIn? I don't need to be on LinkedIn. I need to be on Facebook. Well, LinkedIn is dominated business to business.
Yeah.
Facebook is more entertainment.
Yeah.
Nope. All these people say I need to be on Facebook. It's like, okay, I'm not going to fight you to convert you over, because I don't work for LinkedIn. So it makes me no difference. But I'm just trying to help your business grow versus, oh, I'll take your money. I remember one time I had a prospect actually fussing with me about SEO.
Mhm.
I've been doing SEO since 2003.
Wow.
I've worked with some of the big boys.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell her, you don't need SEO. It doesn't matter. She's like, no, I need it. I'm ranking. I'm like, well, how many people converted based on your ranking? She couldn't tell me. I'm like, I'm trying to tell you, and I do SEO.
Right.
I would be wanting to take your money for SEO, and I'm rejecting money for SEO, because I'm telling you,
oh, bless your heart. Yeah.
You don't need it for what you're trying to accomplish. And it's such a long term, and you're going to pay so much more.
Yeah.
It would just be quicker to take a different approach. But the problem is, we've got so many people out there giving so much information.
Yeah.
And people aren't seeing what's true for their business. They're just seeing the hype. And I laugh every time I hear that, because I laugh and say, I remember when I was on my brother's couch last month, and, I was on my brother's couch with nothing. And then about a year later, I was a millionaire and I have all this.
Yeah.
Well, how many times you heard that story? And how many?
It's disturbing. It's disturbing. And it's especially impactful to young adults. And I was speaking with a friend last night who's about 28 years old and working really hard, going to school, learned day trading, bought a house like when he was like 26. And he's like, I feel like a failure. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, everybody needs to stop with the social media for a little bit, because you're in this competitive environment, and it's a real disservice that is plagued on so many people, especially young people. Everyone can fall into it. You know, it doesn't matter your age. But that breaks my heart that people that are really stand up, good people, applying themselves, and to anybody, even if you screwed up in your life, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what you do today, and that you do the right thing today, and that tomorrow when you wake up, you take pride in who you were yesterday, and if not, then you do better today. Every day is a new day, and we can't sit there and compare ourselves to every single person who's got some tail to weave, and you know, all these, like, you know, 7-figure this, that, da 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 da, you know. And I think that also marketing agencies do a bit of a disservice when they come out with now, they may be right. Okay, they may be right that there's a way that you can do all this without spending any. Sure, they might be right, but it messes with the psychology of so many people and business owners. And then I can go in and I can say, look, here's our marketing stack. This is what we've done for businesses just like yours.
Yeah.
In the same market. You know, this is why we know this works. And then they come out with some, well, my kid showed me this thing from this TikTok influencer who said, well, da, 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 da. And I'm like, cool, why don't you call her and see if she can do that for you? Because if she can, fantastic, I'll go work with somebody else who wants to work with me. I mean,
yeah, well, that's the biggest challenge is a lot of people, first of all, haven't taken the time to evaluate who they are.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. I've never lost a client when that type of conversation comes up. They always end up working with me. I'm just saying that, like, okay, so we're going to go out there. So I'm going to go on a dating app, and then I'm going to get myself on 5 more dating apps and see all the same people on, you know, it's like, you know, I'm going to go on Instagram, and I'm going to go on Facebook, I'm going to go on TikTok, I'm going to go on Snapchat, I'm going to go on, you know, Clubhouse, I'm going to go on, you know, YouTube, and we're all up in the mix, 1,000 different ways information's coming at us. It's convenient for everybody.
And the problem is we're looking at the information without saying, first of all, who am I as a person, but as a business, who am I as a business?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't understand our business. And so we are looking at the success of others. So sometimes I will have people ask me, you know, for companies I've worked with and blah, 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 but I'll let them know, let me know more about your company, your audience, so I can talk to you about your case.
Yeah.
Because I can compare you to some of my past clients.
Sure.
But my past clients, they were Fortune-sized companies with investors. Use or lose money. They had budget of marketing that you don't even make an annual revenue. You know, you don't even make annually. They were blowing on a quarter, on a month, some of them.
Yeah.
You know, you
totally different.
Yeah, you can't compare yourself. And they don't see that. They say, no.
Great point.
I call it chasing Amazon. Well, Amazon did this. Well, Amazon is worth this amount. They have not just one, but multiple agencies advising them. They have multiple staff members and departments. They have use or lose money. So that's why Amazon, they said, did not make a profit for 10 years. You as a small business or mid-sized business cannot operate not making a profit for 10 years and still be the #1 company.
Yeah.
But they don't look behind the curtains. And I tell people, look at documentaries, look at behind the curtains, figure out reverse engineer.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a basketball player. He's a great basketball player, but his daddy was in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had the best trainer, nutrition. He practiced since he could walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he should be good at what he does. You're not looking at behind the scenes. You're going out to the playground talking about, I'm going to shoot 100 shots a day and I'm going to be great. Well, if you don't have the right person coaching you on how to shoot the shot, you don't have a person training you on from ingraining from a baby how to be, you know, how to work out efficiently, stuff like that. You aren't going to be this person.
100%. Did you read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers?
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly, you know, talks about how did Bill Gates become Bill Gates? Well, he grew up in Seattle, Washington. He got to go into the computer lab when he was in middle school and start tinkering around during summers. He learned computer programming at 11, 12 years old, multiple languages, frameworks, etc. and he was at
Well,
the right time.
let's give the major. His mom was VP at a bank.
That's right.
That actually, when everybody talks about how he got in that boardroom and gave his pitch to the executives, what basically 20-year-old will ever get a foot in an executive boardroom to talk to the execs? His mom had the contacts because they were banking with the bank she was at to get him in the door. Now you've got all these ambitious, teenagers and 20-year-olds talking about they feel like they're failing, but you don't have a person that can get you in to even have the conversation. That was the turning point.
So let's talk about this, because we've villainized. I'll speak for myself. I was annoyed when I came to college and I realized somebody like a boohoo story, but like, I felt like I was the poorest person there. Everybody had money, so much money. I was like, what do your parents do? Like, what do your parents do? Like, where did you grow up? Like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like I went to public schools and, whatever, that blew my mind. But watching nepotism, throughout my life, and just knowing that I can't even get in anywhere. Now, what is the Achilles heel to nepotism? I believe it's apprenticeship and mentorship. And I think now when we start to reframe, if we don't start reframing mentorship in this country, look at what's happening with the baby boomers. We have more people right now putting in their resignations than ever before because they're over it. Okay.
Yeah.
They've either been, furloughed or salary reduction, or they can't handle this whole hybrid, it's too much, or they're like, you know what, I'm close enough, I'm done. So we've got mass resignations coming in. That was a headline I just read yesterday or maybe this morning. We've got major workforce issues. We've got 1 million jobs per year in the technology sector that go unfilled. We've got counterbalancing that in the technology field. We've got about 120 to 160 graduates per year that are supposed to fill those million slots for open job placement. So we're in a major deficit, not just in technology, but in everything, in every way. So now mentorship is one of the biggest things that's happening. And one of my clients, Dev Pipeline, is actually in a technology apprenticeship program. So they develop developers and full stack web developers, and it's totally paid. It's a year apprenticeship. You're working with, major entrepreneur, CEO, people that have built and sold companies and softwares and technologies. And so that is one of the most exciting things that I'm doing right now, is assisting them we've now formed a foundation, a nonprofit. And so we're going to put a lot of people through that system and build out multiple certifications and apprenticeship models so that we can bridge that gap and fill those positions. And all under that whole collaboration mindset, right? There's no more competitive dog eat dog. All these companies are vying for these supply and demand, right? There's just not that much supply for the types of employees that are beyond a junior developer role. So they're poaching, or they're, people will jump ship for, $1 more an hour. Well, how about we just create more good people? Because our problem in this country is not talent. It is not talent at all. We have so much talent and so many people. And if they just knew a better way, right? You can't become what you can't see. So we have to diversify that whole portfolio of people, of talents, of areas of expertise, and we all have to help each other. So
that's so important. And like your experience in college, if you're not exposed to things, it's hard for you to see. I know we hear a lot about dreaming, you can achieve it, but when you've never seen anything to dream about,
you don't know what it really looks like. You don't even know what it feels like. You don't know how to, not only like how to, forget walking into the door to a boardroom. You don't even know the 20, 40, 60 steps before that. And who's going to help you do that? Mentorship organizations.
And the stress of it all. So, if you're looking at a person that goes to college that is financially set already, or a person that starts a business that parents have already become financially set, most of the time, the biggest stress that they have is sitting at a dinner table and having your parents say, "I'm disappointed at you." That's it. You're not stressed over where you're going to live. You're not stressed about starting over. your college tuition is paid, your house is paid, your car is paid. There's no risk. And I love when I hear those stories about how I can do it and I don't worry about the risk. Well, if you come from a risk-free environment, I mean, I can listen to my mom and dad tell me they're disappointed. It doesn't bother me. I'm like, okay, well, hey, sorry. Versus I'll be on the street homeless if this doesn't
a little
work.
bit different of a risk analysis
Yeah.
there. Yeah. I had a call last week with a group out here called the Relay Institute, and this is a consortium approach to addressing the what they call opportunity youth from the age 16 to 24 in the county of Los Angeles, county-wise, not citywide. So they were running through some numbers. They're dealing with at-risk youth that are, or home housing insecurity, homeless youth, kids that are aging out of the foster youth system, which in the county of LA, there's 3,000 kids every year that are becoming 18 years old and most likely homeless.
Wow.
It's phenomenal. Kids that are touched by the criminal justice system. We've got something like, I don't remember what they said. It was don't quote me on the number, but it was thousands and thousands of people between that age bracket that they're trying to bring into this holistic environment of, we're solving many problems, right? We're solving housing, food insecurity, transportation, education, certification, so they can go out and get jobs so they can provide for their family, healthcare, mental health care. There's so many aspects to it. So this is a really critical time for us. It always has been critical, but I think now we're finally getting it. Now people are finally getting it. I mean, you go down in Los Angeles, you go anywhere in Los Angeles. You don't have to go to downtown. You don't have to go to Skid Row anymore. You can go anywhere in Los Angeles and you can see the housing crisis. We've now got an eviction, crisis on our hands. We've got a foreclosure crisis that's coming too. So I'm not saying we have to give everything to everybody, but we have to get together and start solving problems and stop this gridlock that's happening, because especially when it comes to, I think we can all agree, especially when it comes to these kids in that age group, 16 to 24, if we can get to them there and we can start to make improvements there, then we're really onto something, because they've got the whole rest of their lives in front of them. Can I solve a problem for somebody who's, it becomes much more complicated the older they get and the more that they've been through. Of course, doesn't mean that they're less deserving, but these kids, come on, this is where we've got to put our heads together. So those are some of the initiatives that I'm working on. And a lot of what I do with my consulting company is focusing on those things. But in turn, what I'm doing is I'm getting some applying for city and county contracts where I can do marketing consulting services. And my end goal will be within the next year to have a social impact enterprise where I can start hiring on people that have gone through the criminal justice system, and take some of these kids on, apprentice them, and start matching people. Just like what Dev Pipeline is doing, I can start to do that through Polaris Marketing and Consulting and develop a long-term legacy for success wherein they can have a job with me. We'll have city and county contracts. We'll have our own private, we'll have a mixture of like private and public accounts. And then I just know that the capability is there. And I know that my heart, my instinct is there. And the contacts are there, and that's like a really important part too. And I also know that the sense of urgency is there, because now finally it's like everywhere I turn, people are having these kinds of conversations. I'm like, yes, totally. Let's do this. We can. Why not?
Yeah. Why not? Well, I applaud you on that. And honestly, the pandemic has helped, because people can only associate what they have been exposed to. And before, everybody was in their own little world. And so when you start looking at people that have had challenges in their life that you've never experienced, you're kind of like, well, they should have done this, or they probably deserved it because of that, or whatever be the case. But then once everybody was at home, everybody started to get funding cut, they started to experience some of the stress, they started to relate. I laugh because when all these parents started having their kids at school, at home instead of at school, now everybody's sending these teachers, oh, well, your job is so hard. Well, you're only taking care of 1 or 2 or 3 kids versus 20-something kids. Right. Now you're like, wow, I didn't know your job was so hard.
Bless their hearts. Oh my gosh. Seriously. And that was such a tricky thing to navigate. And look, we might not be out of the woods. We don't know what's coming on around the corner here. We could have a resurgence of this, new Delta strain, or it could be, something else, God forbid, or, we just don't know what's coming in the fall, if there's going to be, like this sort of cyclical flu-like,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
gosh. And so,
But it's definitely helped people change their perspective.
absolutely.
And I think that that's really what's going to help us as a society.
Yes.
Is being able to see other people's perspectives.
Yes.
And to change it, because you're not living, I remember talking with my nephew about in school, he was, honor student, so forth and so on, but came from a stable environment. So he was talking about some classmates that they're sleeping in school and they're always hungry. Well, you don't know where they came from. They may be sleeping in school because they can't sleep at night because their home life environment. They may be eating a lot at lunch because they're not eating at home. And I don't care what you talk about in class. If I got to worry about my health, I got to worry about stress when I get home. I got to worry about all this other stuff. If I'm working at a teenage year, I got to go from school to work because I'm the one providing for my mom and my sisters and so forth. I could care less what 2 + 2 equals. I could care less. They're not focused on that. So you're not seeing it from that perspective. Now, if you see it from that perspective, I don't know how much of an A student you would be because you're not focused on it. It's not that they're not smart. They're just not focused.
Yeah.
And I think with the world now, we're seeing other people's perspectives and people that used to be, I guess you would say, in a bubble.
Yeah.
Now seeing outside the bubble and like, wow, just the homeless thing. It's so funny when I hear people talk about homeless. Why don't just get a job? First of all, you get a job, you got to fill out an application. Yep.
What do you need? You need an application. You need an address.
Yeah. You need an address. You can't get a job without an address. So if you have no home, you have no address. So tell me how. Well, there's programs out there. Okay, I get that. First of all, to find these programs, you got to go online or you got to know somebody and you got to go to the office. Yep. In order to go to the office, you have to have a vehicle. Yep. You have to get it, So is it really that easy? Is it really like they're just being lazy? Oh, they just don't have any ambition. No, it's not that. It's just you're coming from a place where you're stable. You have a job you've been at for a while. Yeah. You have fallbacks. If things don't work out, you either have a spouse, a family member or something. You have, 401ks. You have, other things that you can fall back that if a month or two goes by and you make no income, you can still survive.
Yeah.
But when everybody started getting cut and everybody started being unemployed and they started losing and diminishing their savings, then all of a sudden we need to do something. We need to do something. This is crazy. And now it's been, for some people, it's been bad.
Sure. Yeah.
Nobody had any empathy because they weren't going through it at the time.
Right.
So that's the one thing I think that the pandemic has opened up a lot of eyes. That people are like, wow, we need to revisit our judgment. I don't even want to say opinion, really our judgment on certain people's situations.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you have to find the silver lining, and it's been pretty not, roses and roses and puppies out there. It's been terrible for a lot of people. But I agree. I think that having empathy for healthcare workers, frontline workers, people that have faced housing and food insecurity, for years or perhaps even entire generational cycles. And looking at, okay, well, obviously like this, the more people it impacts, the more consensus you can get around it. And unfortunately, I think that that's what had to happen for this to get to this tipping point. But I am very encouraged by a lot of the things that I'm seeing through a lot of workforce development programs, the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, things that are going on here regionally, locally, city and countywide. And I think also that the business community and, like, for instance, our LA Area Chamber of Commerce has done a phenomenal job of just supplying so much information and and community building for businesses, small businesses, and really being that business liaison to to the state.
Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage people when they see this, no matter if you're a small business or an entrepreneur, solo entrepreneur, or whatever stage you're at in your business, get involved. Choose one, or if you can, two. You don't have to be all day, every day doing something. Just choose one or two entities that you can hop on with. Now, you can join a lot of chambers, have tons of free networking or business-oriented information that they offer to the business community, and they don't charge for that. And you can hop on and do these meetings and get out there and start to see what I think everybody should have at least one social cause that they're involved in outside of just their immediate family. And I know a lot of us, a lot of people that are full-time caretakers, this is another thing now. You've got one of the main reasons, they came up with the 3 main reasons why people are not re-entering the workforce. And one of those key main reasons was that they're a primary caretaker. And they just can't go back. And we do not take care of our caretakers in this country. We don't. And we should, especially because of this aging, the greatest generation in the history of the world, the baby boomers, are my parents. And my mom's 100% disabled. She's had multiple sclerosis for over 20 years. My dad's her primary caretaker. He's getting older. I'm now becoming caretaker. And I'm running a business, and I'm involved in 2 nonprofits, and I'm, I have my life, and there's no money, there's no recourse, there's no help whatsoever that we can get for her at all. I don't understand that. I don't understand that when we're the wealthiest nation in the country, and we don't take care of our people, especially in old age or when they are disabled. That blows my mind. Oh no, we'll take care of you, but you have to be so below poverty. Your life has to get so to the absolute dregs to where you're starving, practically homeless. Then fine, we'll help you. I mean, that's unacceptable. That's got to change. A lot's got to change. And I'm just glad I'm hitting my 41st year. So I'm just hitting my stride, and I'm like, I'm going to rage so much. So, we can't solve all the world's problems, but like I said, pick your cause and get involved. Join a chamber, or, you don't have to be a paying member if you can't afford it, but start joining some of these, meetings and stuff and get involved. And that's, I think, a game changer for a lot of people. Builds a lot of community.
Definitely something bigger than yourself. So, and that is the best thing to close this out on. Now, you do have an offer coming up in the next month.
Yes, July.
Don't want to overlook that at all. So tell us more about it.
Okay, so the way that I survive is I have my marketing agency. So we're going to be doing a special starting in July for 15% off for new clients. Generally, the types of businesses we work with are, somewhere between 2 to 20 employees. We can work with smaller businesses, but they need to have been around for at least probably a year or 2. Really, startups are not, like a brand new business with no marketing budget isn't going to work for us. Usually our starting packages are between $1,500 to $3,000 depending. And so we will be doing 15% off the first month for new clients. We do a 90-day trial. And so again, I'm like, copious amounts of information will come from me to the client. So I'll do, weekly and monthly reporting up to their discretion. And we can do actually a full marketing stack. So our methodology, because a lot of it is B2B and B2C, so business to business, business to consumer, we will incorporate 5 social platforms. So LinkedIn, Google My Business, Twitter, Instagram, and what am I forgetting? LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, My Business.
Wait a minute. LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
I forgot the 5.
I want to say TikTok. I don't know.
No, we can, but generally we're going to do 5. We're going to do LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google My Business. Those are the 5. I think
Okay.
I said them, but I said them out of order or something. Anyway, I'm on Twitter My Business and Linkberry and okay, so we're going to do 5 social platforms. We'll do social posting to all 5. We do SEO services also, and we do lead generation. So we're really great when we can sort of stagger out our marketing stack for clients. We've seen just amazing success. So we do a lot with professional services. We have a lot of real estate clients. We have mortgage, real estate agents, brokers, even some investor type real estate things that we do. Yeah, so I mean, we do a lot in the professional services arena. Retail is also great, e-com. So
cool.
That's our deal.
Well, thank you so much for offering our viewers and listeners that opportunity.
For sure.
You know, if you want to find them, you will go to Polaris. Yeah, Polaris. I'm saying it all wrong. I'm looking at Polaris Marketing. Is it marketing and consulting.com?
All written out. Polaris. Okay. Polaris is the North Star. So it was sort of like our guiding light. So POLARIS, marketing and consulting.com.
Yes. And definitely take advantage of it, you know, and come with an open mind and ready to grow, not with a closed mind and thinking of, well, you heard on a blog or a video somewhere you saw, this is what we need to do. So definitely customize it for your own business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's all consultative. It's not, we don't do cookie cutter, you know, approaches, but we have our marketing stack that works. And of course, you know, I'm always open to learning new ideas and we know we learn a lot from our clients too. We learn a lot when we start, when you start digging in and looking under the hood, you're like, oh, well, this worked. Well, that's interesting. I've not seen that happen before. And then you can riff off of that. So like you said, marketers, we're always learning and we're always testing. So, but it is nice to know like certain niches and verticals once you get into where you have a degree of confidence where you're like, okay, I can't guarantee you, but I can roughly estimate that this is what you should be seeing at this point in time. And it feels good when we hit our mark, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. And the numbers tell the truth. The numbers are what it is. So
true.
So thank you so much, Jenni, for coming on. And
such a pleasure. Thank you.
I know everybody, we went a lot of different ways, but this is how we do it. We just have a conversation. So we hopefully brought value in more than just having fun with your business, but social conscious, you know, how to really thrive in your business. And as you're in business, you realize it's more than just a one straight way of doing things. You're going all over the place with business. So
yeah, for sure. It's good to stay in your lane, but it's good to stay open-minded. So
yes, definitely.
What we do. All right. Awesome. Thank you.